Right, Shalom. It's your brother Kushab. I'm going to begin to another lesson. Before I get started, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash, and love honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who told me the truth and rule well in peace, blessings, and salutations be to the hopefully elect, as well as those that believe in the gospel and may you endure to the end, Lord willing. All right, and I don't have a particular title of this lesson, all right, but I just want to go into the separation, all right, the division that the Most High has created, all right, from the beginning between the so-called white man and you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, man, all right, and, one day you'll get it, all right, which is most likely, all right, if you're not in the know right now, you'll get it in the kingdom, all right? Because there's no matter what, Jake just can't seem to understand, right, on why, these type of events or these different things happen, or why can't we all just get along, all right? That's why we always tell you, when Martin King, all right, that weirdo, with him giving that dream of I have a dream of little white boys and little black boys and black girls and white girls playing together, all right? It was never supposed to be that way, man, all right? When things were segregated, our people were thriving, all right? We had our own, so-called black businesses, right? The communities were thriving, all right? It was all through the plan of the so-called small hat to get these communities integrated, all right, so that they can make more money, all right, off the dollar, man, right, off the so-called black dollar, all right, because, we were ultimately just keeping it circulated, but then, having our own stores, right, our own little corner stores, grocery stores, we didn't need so-called white people for anything, all right? So it was never meant for us to be equal, all right? When the scriptures tell you that, the Israelites are a peculiar people, right? These people are above all the other people, all right? Above. Right? So it's nothing for you to say to try to fix it or make it sound better, right? Because it was never meant for us to be mixed and mingle among these other heathen nations, right? That's why we refer to them as heathen, because that's exactly what they are, all right? The Most High called them less than nothing, man, right? But here it is, Jake want to be equal with these people, all right? And time and time again, we see these things happen. It's like every year around the same time, just people coming across different conversations and stuff today. And yesterday as well, centered around this dude went on a little boat trip with 3 of his Edomite friends, right? But the phone comes back. The girl they say he was dealing with came back, right? But he didn't, right? And like I said, we've seen this story time and time before, right? Time and time again, and Jake just won't get it, right? Now I'm getting to, a few scriptures on showing why, all right, because of the separation and the division that the Most High has created between, Esau, Edom, and Jacob, man, all right? Now, we're going to start off in the book of Luke. Salakia. This is the book of Luke, all right? When you go into the parable of Lazarus and, basically the rich versus the poor, right? And in the conclusion, when you get into it, it says, verse 26, and besides all this between us and you, there was a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that will come from thence, right? So let's get this word great all fixed, man. All right, to show you that there's a total separation. You wonder why our spirits don't align with theirs, you know, why they don't like us and we don't like them, right? Right, it's the word gulf. All right, it says chasm, a gap opening, a chasm, a gulf, right? This is the word great. It says of the external form of a sensible appearance of things, a mass, weight, in particular of space, and of its dimensions. All right, so it's an external form, all right, of space and its dimensions, all right, of us being separated from those people, man. All right, when I say those people, I'm speaking to the so-called white people, all right. It wasn't meant for us, Jacob, to just, you know, be intermingled with them, all right, as well as the rest of the heathen too, right? But it says, when we read it in NLT, it says, and besides, there's a great chasm separating us, so no one can cross over to you from here, and no one can cross over to us from there, you see? So it won't be no intermingling, right? And that's the point, man. You know, like I said, you can, you know, read this whole parable, all right, in your own time, and you can see, you know, how, you know, they treated Jake when they was up, which is how they do now, you know, and in the end, right, of the story in Luke the 16th chapter, in the end, you know, I'll just read it, all right. It says, and he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. You see, and that's what's going to be the end of you so-called Edomites, all right? Because all you did was further the affliction, right? And like the Lord said the first time, he's very sore displeased with you, man. You know? Why? Because you helped further the affliction, right? Now I'm going to get a few precepts to show that this was, you know, their spirit, all right, from the beginning. That's why I tell you in, I believe it's Psalms, you know, who can make crooked what the Most High made straight, man, you know. But let's go to Genesis, the 4th chapter. And I'll start at 2. It says, and she bare again his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process time, it came to pass that Cain, excuse me, Salaki. It says, and it came, in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord Yahweh. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord Yahweh had respect unto Abel and unto his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. Alright, so you read it in the NLT. It says, I read verse 4 and down. It says, Abel also brought a gift, the best portions of the firstborn lambs from his flocks. Right? And that's was an acceptable sacrifice. Right? The best portion of the firstborn lambs from his flock. Alright? Something that's pleasing, alright, to Yahweh, man. It says the Lord accepted Abel and his gift, but he did not accept Cain and his gift. This made Cain very angry, and he looked dejected. Verse 6, it says, why are you so angry? The Lord asked Cain, why do you look so dejected? Right? And when you dejected, right, your countenance is totally falling, man. You're totally out of it. Alright? You might have been alright, feeling well. Now you're just out of it, man. You know, you don't want to be in the presence of the Lord. You don't want to be around your brother. right? You don't want to do nothing. That's what it means to be dejected, right? Now it says, verse 7, it says, you will be accepted if you do what is right. But if you refuse to do what is right, then watch out. Sin is crouching at the door, eager to control you, but you must subdue it and be its master, right? So, and the Lord told him, hey man, if you do well, you brought me this piece of shit ass sacrifice, right? But you can change it around. So instead of, Cain having that mindset of, all right, I can do something kind of like Abel did, you saw what was accepted and you saw what wasn't accepted, It says, verse 8, and Cain talked with his brother Abel, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. Right? So he plotted on him. Hey, instead of getting his sacrifice right, his mindset was to do what? Go kill his brother, man. When we read it in NLT, it says they suggested, right? One day Cain suggested to his brother, let's go out into the fields. And while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Afterward, the Lord asked Cain, where is your brother? Right? Where's Abel? I don't know, Cain responded. Am I my brother's guardian? I'll read it in the KJV. It says, and the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? I don't know where that nigga at. Basically, you put it in today's terms, let's say per se the spirit of Esau, right, in which, according to the scriptures, he is our brother, right? Same mother, same father, right? He just wasn't chosen, and we're going to tie this in with, that same spirit that came back, them same two spirits, right? It says, and he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. And when thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone findeth me shall slay me. I'm just trying to get to the point, all right, so I can tie it in with the Genesis 25. And the Lord said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayed Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him, right? So the Lord set a mark upon Cain, man, okay? He cursed him, right? And what's the mark included what? The mark of leprosy. Let's see what it says when you go into the, he basically took his pigment from him, man, all right? And to show you how that same spirit came back, as his, the birth of his description of how he looked, all right, at birth. Why was that, taken into account, right? Let's see what this word mark is. All right, it says a signal, a distinguishing mark, a banner, right? That's pretty much it, right? We understand that that mark was what? Like I said earlier, the mark of leprosy, man. All right? Now, let me see if I had put this precept in here. I think I'll put it right here. Nope. This must be in my regular Bible. But let's go to Genesis 25, right? To show, through reincarnation, when Cain came back, right? He came back as Esau Edom, right? That same spirit, all right, was put into him, and we're going to get an account tying it directly, linking it directly together, all right? It's irrefutable in the scriptures, man, right? So this is Genesis chapter 25, and I'll start at verse 22. It says, and the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord, right? Because you got two twins, yeah, babies kick, they move around, but no, they was in there fighting, man. They was in there wrestling, Why? Because it was the same two spirits, the same spirit of Cain, right? The same spirit of Abel, all right? And which, we understand that same spirit of Abel was later put in Seth, right? But those same two spirits understood what was going on, which is why they wrestled, all right, struggled in the womb together, man, right? It says, verse 23, and the Lord Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb. You see that? 2 nations, man. I'm going to read it in the KJV and I'm going to read it in the NLT. It says, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. The one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger, right? So you read it in the NLT. It says, and the Lord told her, the sons in your womb will become 2 nations. From the very beginning, the 2 nations will be rivals. So there was rivals in the womb, and what? They're rivals still to this present day, man. All right? It says, one nation will be stronger than the other, and your older son will serve your younger son, right? Let's keep reading. It says, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau, right? So what's the importance, right? Someone should ask themselves, what's the importance of the first one coming out red all over like a hairy garment, right? His blood showing forth through his skin. Why? Because he has that same mark, right, that Cain had, the mark of leprosy. You see? That's a curse, man. All right? It says, and after that came his brother out and took hold on Esau's heel. And his name was called Jacob, right? So it says the elder shall serve the younger. Well, who came out first, man? Right? It said that one nation of people are going to be stronger than the other. You can say fairly that the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are stronger as a people than the Edomite, man. They feeble. They weak. All of the things that have been done unto us to keep us away and keep us in the lowest state possible in this society, right? When you measure up all those things that have been done, so if this has been done to Edomite, they wouldn't even be able to sustain all the hell that we done been through as a people, man. But let's keep going. All right, that was it for that, right? And it goes into the characteristics, but I'm gonna jump a chapter over, right? In the 27, just to show the same time, when Cain and Abel, when they brought their sacrifices, all right, and the sacrifices, one was accepted and one wasn't accepted, goes into the same as the blessings, man, right? Jacob was blessed and Esau wasn't, right? But let's see what Esau's reaction was when he didn't get the blessing, right? Just like his sacrifice wasn't accepted, what was his reaction, And it says, this is Genesis chapter 27, and I think it's about 38. Quick, let me get the... I don't have to get it with the Jacob, we understand that Jacob's his was ultimately blessed. Yeah, he supplanted Esau, but that's the way the Lord made it be. All right. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Jacob was Esau's younger brother, right? Esau was the big brother, and it's still the same way, right? The elder shall serve the younger. So it's not, when you go into Romans the 9th chapter, it's not of, I might have to get it, but it's not of for the purpose of the law, right? Because in the law, everything goes to your firstborn, right? No, but it's about the chosen, right? And the Lord painted it like that way on purpose, man. But it says, therefore the Most High give thee the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and a plenty of corn and wine, and let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren. Let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac, his father, that his brother Esau came in from hunting. And he also had savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thou mayest bless thee. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he replied, and he said, I am thy son, the firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, who? Where is he that had taken venison and brought it to me? And I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great exceeding cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, thy brother came with subtlety and had taken away thy blessing. Right? And which, you sold your birthright anyway, for some goddamn raw meat, man. So you going to sell your birthright and think the Lord going to allow you, to receive the blessings of the kingdom of heaven? You got to be crazy. Right? In which we understand that Isaac is who in the reincarnation? Yahweh Shai. Right? It says, verse 36, and he said, is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. Right? Shit. Jacob sounds like the Hebrew word for heel and deceiver. Well, Jacob means to supplant, a supplanter. All right? That's why I said, for he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he had taken away thy blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him Lord. I have made him thy Lord. Right? But in the prophecy in Genesis 25, when Rebekah went inquired of the Lord, what was the answer? The elder shall serve the younger, man. You see? So that prophecy had to be fulfilled on the elder serving the younger, right? It says, I have given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. What shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me. He begging, Oh, my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept, right? So, he blessed him, all right? But I'm going to just jump to 41 to get the point. It says, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay thy brother Jacob. And these words of Esau, her eldest son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, did comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. Right? Just as Cain killed Abel. The same spirit. Man, I'm going to kill my brother because he supplanted me out of my birthright and a blessing. Well, I'm going to kill my brother because he had an acceptable sacrifice. That same spirit, man. All right? And what has happened, that spirit has been duplicated throughout the planet Earth, which is why you have a nation of so-called white men, women, and children who are all evil, who have that same mindset. Why? Look at their forefather Esau, man. Look at their forefather Cain. Okay? Even at the drop down to the grandson. Okay, Amalek. You see? So that same spirit is been put in that whole nation. So when Jake go on a trip, all right, with all Edomites, hey man, I don't feel bad for you, man. You know? Because you don't got no understanding of who your goddamn enemy is. You know, like the elder was going into last night, man. You know? What do you think is supposed to happen? Really and truly. You see? That same spirit is in their children and their children's children, man. To slay their brother. They don't understand why they have this hate for so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. Well, it's written right here in the scriptures. You see? It's written right here in the scriptures, man. All right? That great gulf fixed. And as long as we here in this last captivity, we ain't gonna never get along. Hey, man, we ain't gonna get along in the goddamn kingdom, man. We gonna be kicking them in the ass. You see? So it's never meant for us to get along or be cool with so-called white people, man. You know? And that's just what it is. And if you can't accept it, take it up with the Most High, man. So with that, I'm going to give all praise, glory, infinite honors unto Yahweh by Shem, Yahushua by Shem, Rechak Wadash, and Shalom, Abarakim, Labakarium, Shalom.